Now, recently, we've gotten some very interesting pieces of news, including the new S&box Steam inventory system support, also a new item store page that has been added to the S&box menu. But it seems like there is one thing that is preventing S&box from releasing. Now, majority of you know VR, you've probably played VR or own a VR headset. Some people don't know that VR support is built into S&box by default, meaning that you can play a range of VR games that are available here and there and create games that are VR ready for S&box. With VR support for the game, there is also a wide range of VR headsets that are supported for the game. This makes it incredibly easy for people who want to play VR games or create VR games, as I mentioned before. But what does this have to do with anything in relation to the game not releasing? Turns out that there is this one thing, which of course is VR, which is preventing S&box from being released. And of course, there's a new VR menu that is currently being worked on as it's supposed to come to S&box. This menu is being worked on by Alex, which he describes, Valve will not allow Face Punch to release S&box unless it's added. He wishes he was joking about this. This is very interesting because I'm not sure exactly as to why this would prevent from releasing the game, and probably many other different aspects of it, which of course, I'm not sure if we'll really ever know. But regardless, this is the one thing that is truly preventing from the game from releasing. It's something that's incredibly vital because at the same time, if they can't release the game and all this other stuff, it's just like, what's the point, right? So that kind of leads us more into another thing, which is that the development for S&box at the moment is speeding and ramping up because it seems like Face Punch is working on a lot of things to prepare for the release of the game. Some of these recent additions, including a new item shop page, which I talked about that was added into the menu. But currently at the moment, you are not able to really see anything because of course they're working on a whole bunch of other aspects. And most likely that page will go up at some point, probably when they're going to get really close to launching the game. Some other additions are gamepad and controller support for the S&box menu for navigation and clicking on games and just playing games with the controller, which is very interesting too, because that means that there is gamepad controller support for the game and games that if you create them, you can also have them work with a controller. Gary has been updating Deathmatch or DM98, which is a Half-Life deathmatch styled game in S&box, which is making a return. What I mean by this is that this game was originally one of the many games that was on the platform when S&box then started to shift over from, I think it was, Unreal Engine to Source 2. This was way before the whole scene changed, so a lot of the games were kind of based on the Entity system, which is essentially the way that games are made on the Source 1 engine. But I do have an interesting theory. Now, games like Walker, which Gary has been working on, and that is a scene map walking game where you could just walk around different maps and take pictures and other things like that, if that's what you want to do, and Deathmatch, which is, again, DM98. There's a chance that I feel some of these aspects and certain things are going to be used, like the crosshairs, the weapons, or other gameplay mechanics, specifically to be added into the new S&box game mode, which of course Gary is working on at the moment. As he mentioned, he was going to start working on in the October blog post because that's supposed to be coming soon. So a lot of these things I feel you're probably going to end up seeing in the new revamped S&box game mode that will come out at some point in the near future. We have more updates like dedicated servers, and there was a whole developer announcement, including some new documentation that has been added on the official Face Punch documents website. Dedicated servers have been getting a ton of updates as of recently, as they're again ramping up for release. And Face Punch games are getting a bunch of updates, including Nicked, High Crumble, and a new 2D platformer game codenamed Chain Game. As I mentioned, development is kind of ramping up quite a bit as they're starting to prepare for the release of S&box. We still have not gotten any sort of release date yet, and most likely I feel like we'll probably get some sort of announcement either through the blog post, which of course I do cover majority of the time. All this stuff is happening. It's very exciting. It seems like we're getting closer and closer to the game coming out. Feel free to subscribe to the channel because we're going to be covering all that stuff, including some of the games, playing them, having a whole bunch of different type of games that you should probably check out in terms of those top 10 games on S&box. A bunch of things we got planned, so please feel free to do that. But otherwise, if you really enjoy this video and you want to know more about S&box, please feel free to check out this video right here on screen, and I'll see you guys in the next video.